My name is Giovanna Fulvi, and I'm an international programmer at Tiff, responsible for Southeast and East Asian cinema. I'm very pleased to have Ho Wei-Ding here with us today to talk about his latest film, Terrorizers. Welcome, Wei-Ding.
Thank you.
Ho Wei-Ding is known to Toronto audiences for Pinoy Sunday, his debut feature film, which premiered at TIFF in 2009, and for Cities of Last Things, which won the platform prize in 2018. This year, we are very honored to present the world premiere of Terrorizer as part of the Contemporary World Cinema section. The story of the film revolves around Ming Liang, a disturbed young man who has committed the public slashing attack, and around the five characters he crosses path with. It's a complex, multiple narrative work that defies genre definitions and classic film structure, in the sense that we do not have a clear plot line, no climax, no hero. So I'm curious to know why you chose this particular type of narrative to...
Well, I mean, you have seen so many films, you made so many films. At some point, you got kind of bored about what the film should be. I just feel like this. I like the structure. I like the literature structures of narrative, because sometimes when you read a novel, fictions, they tend to use a different kind of point of view with different chapters. And then sometimes when you read the book, it doesn't have to be very linear, because sometimes it jump around a bit. I grew up reading fiction like this, and I always thought that film should be more kind of adventurous in terms of storytelling, because we have that kind of freedom to do that. But more and more films I've seen in this world right now, they tend to be very, I would say, safe, or maybe they are kind of, they tend to have to try to cater to the audience taste. Maybe they don't want the audience to get frustrated, so they tend to, tell a story linear way with a definite protagonist, and then treat set up. And for me, this is not life. When you want to talk about life, life is messy. Life is without protagonist. Life is random. So I thought for this kind of particular story, when you talk about public event, instead of going for a traditional linear way, for me, why don't I try to go for a way just like you usually read the news, like normally when you read the news, it starts with something important. But as the day go by, you start reading more and more about the news. When you go forward in your days, you get more and more from the past, because the next day people dig up all the past, dig up all the guys who did these bad things and his background, what his relationship with his family, his girlfriend. So you get more and more. So this is what I was thinking when I go for the structure, and not necessarily go for what the plot is heading to. It's more about where the characters should be, and you're trying to stay with them. So it's kind of challenge, because from the writing to the editing, it just gave us a big headache, because we went through a lot of revision, even the writing and the editing, and because the first thing you have to make sure people understand the whole thing, because to tell a good story, you have to make sure it's a clear story, even though it's with all the different plots and characters. Yeah.
Yeah, and talking about the plots and characters, I'm also curious to know more about the script. While watching the film, I was particularly intrigued by the fragmented chronology of the storytelling, which I found really captivating as a way to focus to concentrate on the character, on his or her rhythm, instead of trying to force the character into a linear time, a linear storytelling. So can you elaborate on this particular stylistic choice?
I play with time. My last film, I play with time. Cities of Last Things. My last film, I was doing something backward, and this idea I had it actually long time ago. I had a small idea about trying to, because I was thinking about circular idea of circular, like kind of circular narration, meaning that sometimes you have to go back to the beginning. Because what I did in the last film, I got really excited about trying to play with the audience expectations. So when I wrote the script, I had this idea already, So we actually, because luckily I had this thing long time ago, so it's more like trying to get back to the story and to revisit what I had wrote long time ago. So it was quite quick because I had it. Um, I started writing a year before productions. And then I have a co-writer, and she and I we went through 4 or 5 drafts. I was kind of surprised is it went quickly, and we didn't have much of the problem trying to sorting out the structure, trying to expand the characters and trying to go for different perspective. And then I think the whole thing is it's not just about the writing anymore, because the people say like editing is a rewriting, and it's true because after we shot all the material, and also during the productions, you have the AD telling you, no, 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 you cannot shoot this too many scenes. This is, we don't have time. So in the production, you already going through the scenes with AD, and sometimes they're like, you know what, you can just do it in one setting, you don't have to do that. So I think we kind of went through 3 rewrites. One is on writing, one is during preparations, and after we had all the footage, and we had to try to figure out what to do with this 3.5 hours rough cut. It's like this is 3.5 hours rough cut. How are you going to nail down to everything? So and then we actually went to another rewrite. The thing right now you saw with all the chapters heading, they came out not on the script. It's totally in the final cut. So for me, this time it really presented, like a challenge for us, that we have to constantly playing around with the narrative and trying to show to people and make sure people get it. I mean, I'm sure people will like get confused or keep asking me, why are you doing this? Why do you have to do this? Why did you put us through this crazy narrative? Why don't you just tell me in a linear way? A lot of people ask me if I should just go back and just cut this film as a linear way. I'm like, you know what? It's come on. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna sit for 2 hours to watch a film, just trying to be challenged. Can be just everything can be just easy. You sit down 2 hours and that's it. You get everything. So that's what filmmaking about. I think sometimes you have to just take the challenge and make sure people get it. Even sometimes they get confused, or sometimes they get worried, or they get yeah, like frustrated. But the thing is, for me, it pay off. Yeah. So.
And is the story based on a real incident or is just fictional?
Well, it was. It's not based on the real incidents. But back then, long time ago, there was an incident in Taipei subway. That there was a kid who actually did something crazy and did some killing and killed some people on the train, and he was very young, and in fact he didn't feel any remorse when he got his death sentence. But when I create this character, I don't want him to be a cold-hearted killer. I want him to be just a confused boy, so that we can actually realize that why people are doing the wrong thing, not because they're bad, it's just because they made the wrong choice. This is always the theme I kind of kind of obsessed about. Like even my last film is the same thing. It's not about whether you're a bad guy or not. You're just making the wrong choice, or even sometimes the environment kind of push you into the directions. Yeah.
And I would like to tell us about the ensemble cast. I mean, the actors are all very good. Austin Lin, it's so believable in the role of this kid, this young disturbed man, but they're all really good. Like JC Lin as Xiao Zhang, and Ding Ning, the masseuse, she's as good as ever. Pipi Yao, I mean, as Kiki, she's like amazing, and
Right.
yeah, and also like Moon Lee, the performance of Moon Lee as Yu Fang is really intense. Not to mention Annie Chen, she's terrific as Monica. How did you cast them, and what was it like working with them? And if there is any special moment during the shooting of the film that you would like to share with us.
Because in Taiwan, it's always tricky to find right actor, because you don't say the acting is good and bad, because I realized that a lot of actors are talented, they're actually good, but because of the environment, because they act in TV drama, sometimes maybe the director, the producer want them to overreact, so it's very hard to judge their past performances, when you cast them. So we did casting a year before productions, meaning that while I was writing with my co-writer, we did casting, and we constantly look for these 6 characters, and then at some point we even use their audition bit to put it in the script. For example, Austin Lin come in, he's trying to impress us by being silent for 1 minute, looking at the camera, just doing nothing. We were like, "Oh my God, you're so scary," and that's why I put that bit into my script, and it become like in the final product. So we are kind of, while we are doing the script, we're having the like audition, the casting, so that we kind of constantly shape the character. Yu Fang, I had someone in mind, but as soon as I met Moon Lee, I'm trying to make Yu Fang more and more like her. Um, I think it's hard because I mean, except the lady Ding Ning who played the massage lady, because I know her very well. I know what she can pull off. And then the like the other 5 talents, they all I have to, how to say, I have to use time to understand them. It's like sometimes when you make a film, you're so rushed because you have to cast them 2 months before shooting, and then suddenly you have to ask them to go to rehearsal. You don't know them well, so I told myself I need to use time to understand them. I meet with them all the time. We did some audition. We did some, like put 2 of them in a room trying to like interact. We use the camera to shoot their performance, trying to like analyze what's going on, and we even did the fitting. Have them to dress something just to see whether the character looks right or not. So we spent a lot of time, as much as the writing, to try to build these characters. And also there are 2 of them end up, we need to change them like 3 or 4 months before shooting. So, but still, we're trying to make sure, because I've seen their work, their acting in TV drama sometimes kind of worry me, because I'm like, oh, I don't think you can be in my film because your acting doesn't look like film acting. But the thing is, when I meet them in real life, they look different. So it must be something different, like something in the process in their past work that, make them acting like that. So I have to try to understand them and use my way to make sure they become part of my work. So, like also the 5 characters, 6 character, everyone has a different kind of acting. They have different kind of habits. And Moon Lee is actually, this is her first feature film. she has never acted on a feature before. So you have a newcomer, you have Ding Ling, who who have worked with me before and who are so used to my style, and then you have the four other characters who come from a TV drama background. They are young, they're still trying to figure out what acting is. And yeah, that's a long story to talk about, but it's very. I'm happy, it turned out like this way because so far everyone who's seen this film realize that there's nobody stand out, meaning that there's no one less, no one more. No one's trying to fight for acting because sometimes when you see a film, it's like this lead has good acting, the other lead is like, oh, in comparison, they're weaker. But for me, they become the world, they become a family. Uh, you feel like you know them well. You don't get distracted by some bits of really overreacting parts or anything. So for me, this is very nice. I was kind of surprised, but again, in editing, that's another part that we have to face because we have to constantly trying to figure out what to do with the performance, how to make them look better because of course they have a lot of NG takes, a lot of takes you have to go through to shape them. So yeah, I'm just happy how it turned out right now. Yeah.
Yeah, good job. So last question is about the English title of the film, which has nothing to do with the original Chinese title, but is an obvious homage to Edward Young's The Terrorizers. So why did you choose to call your film Terrorizers?
I like Edward Young's movies. I always found Terrorizer it's a very interesting term. You don't call it terrorist, you only call it terrorizers. And in Edward Young's film Terrorizers, I think he also talks about people in the city, urban like alienation, also overlap plot. There's a kid like making crank call. So I was kind of making homage to his film. And also for me, when you look at this film, you realize that everyone is responsible. It's when something happened, nobody is outsider because all the character you see in this film, they somehow related to each other. When the guy trying to do the killing, why is he doing the killing? Because at some point, the massage lady encouraged him without knowing that he's the guy who is thinking about trying to do something bad. So the massage lady somehow encouraged, him to be. I mean, it's like for me, you can say Terrorizer is also a video game. You can say Terrorizer is a media. Because at the end of the film, we realize that Yifang has to go because the way media portray her as something else instead of what we have seen as a truth. So for me now in the world, a lot of you can say the guy is terrorizer, but you can always say environment, the society, the culture, the parents, the TV, the weapon, the video games, the addiction, everything could be part of it. So that's why I come up with the term, and I found that like Edward Young was actually did similar thing. So for me, it's kind of upgrade version of what he's thinking back then in the 80s. So um, it was it was kind of different vision like in the 80s when he looked at the Taiwan society, and now for me, because of the global village concept, because everyone can travel each other, we can talk to each other. So even though this story takes place in Taipei, for me, it's not just about just Taipei or Taiwan anymore. It's about any other like, urban city. I'm sure in other city you can see the same thing. So that's why I make homage to the title Terrorizers. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Widin. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us today. I really hope I'll see you in person
I know.
sometime
I hope I
soon.
can be there and
Well,
be
let's hope.
show the film with the theater, with the audience, feeling the
With the,
audience. Yeah.
yeah. But in any case, thank you. Thank you so much. And
Okay.
we'll be seeing soon each other, maybe.
Maybe with the next film.
Yeah, we'll be with the next film. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.